Hi, I want to take you on a little journey today using what's called Adobe Mixamo. The purpose of this is to show you how you can find a 3D character that you might want to use in Captivate to point out critical points in a slide or to explain something. So Mixamo, you go to mixamo.com, you log in under your Creative Cloud name, and Mixamo comes up. The first thing you do, you'll see this is a program that has a ton of 3D characters kind of moving here. I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. You could spend days in here. In the upper left, there's something called characters. These are all characters that I can use in here. They range from zombies to cartoon characters. Let's say that we come down here and we pick up, how about this Mousy? I'm going to click Mousy. And he comes in as what is called in 3D modeling a T pose. And then animation is applied to him. Well, I don't know how to animate him. Well, fortunately in Mixamo, if you go to the upper left, they have a bunch of built-in animations. And I can apply these animations to this character. There are lots of them here. I mean, there's tons. So what you do is you can pick one. You can scroll through and pick one, or I can click here on the search field. I can pick a category or a genre. I'm going to pick this, pointing, because I want my character to help me point out some important things within a Captivate slide. So I'm going to pick pointing. So here's my little character. So it applied the pointing animation to this character. On the right hand side here, you can control his pointing direction and so on, is the height of pointing. So I'm going to drag this over to pointing direction. Now this is a 3D character, so on this little screen over here, I can press and drag and rotate my camera around to look at him. I'm going to be able to do the same thing basically in Photoshop, so I'm kind of looking how I might want to have this used in Captivate. Now this is not a lesson on how to bring in an animated character. I am only using this to pick one frame of this animation eventually and bring it into Captivate. So I'm just going to use this pointing direction till I get him pointing where I want. Height. Probably the height of where he's pointing to. Now when I turn this a little bit, you see how his arm is intersecting his body? Well, there's something here called character arm space, and this is going to force his arms out farther away from his body. In fact, I'm going to run it up to 100%. I really can't get it all away from this body, but that's the best I can do. And up here, something called overdrive, I didn't even do it. What this does, this slows down the animation. And this speeds it up if I go over here. So now he's doing this in literally like 39 frames, you can see in the lower left here. When I run it down overdrive to the 0 amount, in fact, let me run that up a little bit. So now he's just not going to move so fast. So what my goal here is to trim down this animation so I see a series of frames where I can pick from Photoshop just one of them and use it for my pointing gesture. So I'm going to drag this one on the right. I'm going to pull it over. I'm going to pull this over. I'm going to pull this one over more, narrow it down. Ooh, I don't like that. Let me move it to the right and move this one over. Now this is getting closer to what I want. So I'm going to drag this over till I have maybe a couple of frames showing me that's the hand position I want. Now it's not going to flutter because we're going to pick one of those frames. But these are the two frames it's going to download so we can bring it into Photoshop. So now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to download the character. I'm going to change the format. Now this is important. You have to change it to this .dae format. I believe it's pronounced colada or colada. And then I'm going to take all my other defaults and click download. It's now taking those 2 frames with this character, with that animation, and saving it as a zip file down to my downloads folder, which I'm going to pick here right now. I'm going to quit out of Firefox and Mixamo. Whoop, it's still downloading. Sorry about that. There we go. Now it's downloaded. And let me close out of Firefox. Here's the folder right here, pointing 1. Now I had another one I did earlier, so let me just delete this so you're not even confused, and I'm not. Here's the file I'm going to bring into Photoshop, and here's some auxiliary files it needs to make it work, so I'm not touching those. Okay, I've got Photoshop open here. I also have a workspace for 3D open. So Window, Workspace, 3D, Window, Workspace, Reset. I'm going to bring out my 3D panel. I have a Layers panel here. I have my Properties panel. Now let's bring in that 2-frame animation, that .dae file, into Photoshop. Now you don't go through the File menu. You got to go through 3D and pick New 3D Layer from File. Find the file, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my downloads. I'm going to double click on pointing, and here's my DAE folder. File. I'm going to double click on that. This is the height of my little character. I'm going to change this to pixels so I understand the height. And let's say your slide's about 1200 pixels high. Let's make him 800 pixels high according to the y-axis. He's going to come in here, and there's my character. Now, here's a crucial thing. There's a bug in Photoshop. It took me weeks to figure this out. Over here in the Properties panel on the right, you have to come down to where it says Remove Hidden and click on this little box called Back Faces. And it will bring the character back so you can see him. I don't understand it. I just did it. So the next thing is, in the lower left corner of the Photoshop window, because you're in 3D space, you have some camera tools to move around your character. I'm in an orbit tool. There's a pan tool that means left and right. A dolly tool for in and out. I'm going to go to my rotate for now. And I can rotate the camera around and get him in the position I would like him to be in Captivate. Okay, so I'll position him here. And this is the way I think I'd like to have him. Now remember, this was a 2-frame animation. So I need to pick which frame of that animation I want. So let's go to Window. Let's come down to Timeline. Let's create a video timeline. Hang in there. And what this does, this is just going to play. As I scrub this video playhead, you're just going to see the 2 frames of animation you and I brought down. Let's say we want this position right here. So I left the playhead where it's at. Now, everything is kosher so far. Here's a crucial thing. I had an existing Photoshop file I brought him into. That existing Photoshop file had a background layer filled with white. I'm going to come over here in my Layers panel. I'm going to turn off the padlock. I'm going to drag this layer 0 to the trash. Now you can see that he is on a complete transparent background. That's what these checkerboards mean. So here's the next crucial step. I want to save him out as a ping file. Now here's something I want to let you know before we get too far. Over here in the tool panels in Photoshop, some of the newer versions don't bring up all my tools. So there's this ... down here, so I need to press and hold and go Edit Toolbar, and I'm madder and blazes at Adobe for this. I'm going to restore the default tools. I'm going to click Done. Now I have my crop tool here. And I'm going to pull these crop handles in just around mousey pointing. Because if I don't crop it, it's going to keep that whole extra area around him. I'm going to hit Enter. And now I just treat this like a regular Photoshop file. I can go under File, and I can go Export, Save for Legacy. There's different ways to do this too. But I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to see in the lower left, there's the ability to change my view. This was something that freaked me out the first times I did this. And over here, I need to make it sure it's a ping 8 file or a ping 24. 8 is less quality than 24. Will you see the difference? I don't know. But you'll have a file size that's about 2 or 3 times bigger if you pick 24. You can actually check that if you want to in the lower right corner here where it says ping 24. It's 352K for 24. And for ping 8, it's 115. Now the reason I'm using the ping file, if you don't know this, ping files keep that transparent background. If I go in there and change this to a JPEG, it's going to put a white background in there, and I don't want that. Okay, let's save this. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to save as New Mouse Point 1. Now you say, well, that's kind of a crazy name. Yep, it's because I've got some other files in here and I got to keep them separate. Save. I'm going to come over here and minimize Photoshop. I'm going to come in here to Captivate. Now notice, here's what happens if you don't remove that white layer in Photoshop. And here's what happens when you don't crop it. You end up with this giant thing with a white background. So let's delete this. I've made an object and it's already in the timeline. It's a smart shape filled with this cheese orange. I'm going to go down here in the timeline, and you're a Captivate person, so you should know how to lock this. And then I'm going to import under the media button the actual just image, just like it's a regular image, which it is. New Mouse Point 1. Cross your fingers. There he is. How you like that? I'm going to double click on him. I'm going to bring up the properties panel. I'm going to come over here and say fit to stage. And how do you like that? You could move him around here wherever you want. You could easily go over and add a text caption for him to point to or something like that. Again, now he's just a regular mouse graphic. Don't know why they picked text color of gray, but let's put her on here. And I can put it up here. And then you can just come down, of course, in your timeline and extend out how long you want him to play. And remember, there are other Captivate tutorials, if you haven't been through them, the mini-series on animating him. You can keep him selected, go to Timing, go to Basic, go to Entrance, and let's say we ease him in from the right. Whoops, how about the left? There he is. Let's pull him off the screen. Let's press and hold on the playhead. Looks good. Let's play him. Ta-da! And let's go ahead and preview this in the browser. There he is. So that's how you can bring in a Mixamo character into Captivate. Again, it's not animating the character. We may do that later, but right now we're walking instead of running, just bringing in this character. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop me an email. I'm at ESO Solutions. This is Mark at ESO Solutions. Thanks.